Hi, I'm Nate, creator of this particular time freeze video. I made this video about 2 years ago when I was in a beginning After Effects class, and over the ensuing 2 years it's accrued a few views on the YouTube, including a couple of requests in the comments for tutorials. And though this is, well, it's a very simple effect, so I might as well oblige. Although those requests are a couple of years old, maybe those people have moved on and found other teachers, which is probably just as well. But here we go. The basic effect is that we're freezing time. The assignment of the class was that I'd have one character who's going to freeze and another character who moves around behind them. In this case, I just use myself as the actor. Part of the the effect is that you're appearing in two places at once. It's great. It's funny. Whatever. Despite my acting, this effect is pulled off fairly well, with the main exception being this area right here, motion blur. The motion blur of my hand causes this freeze to look unnatural and nasty, and it's the biggest regret I have about this video. Obviously, a truly frozen object would be clearly defined. It wouldn't be in motion, so that's a little bit annoying, but it's something that we can work around for the sake of the tutorial. I'm not going to sweat it too much. Here, I'll just play a little bit from the beginning. Rub my hands. I don't know what I was doing. Little reach out, and he freezes. And I come in to sabotage the lovely drink. First I take some like a jerk. Jeez. And then I proceed to crack an egg and pour ketchup, salts, all manner of nastiness. Mix it all together. And with a little bow, I take out, and this is all irrelevant to After Effects. This is not helping the tutorial. But then the unfreeze, the grab, drinking, and that's lovely. Okay, so I opened up this After Effects project for the first time in 2 years at least. March of 2013 is when I first created this. So I'm looking at the layer panel here, the composition panel, excuse me, and I'm seeing a couple of kind of funny things. I'm not quite sure what I was doing. It looks like I have a little segment here of the red guy with masks applied to it. Okay. The basic idea, though, you can see I've got the blue guy holding still, masked him out, and I masked out this portion of the table because the lighting is different between the two shots. But instead of diving into a comp that's already been created, I'm going to start all over again. Let's see. We have two shots. I believe these are just two separate takes. Here, clicking the layer name, source name, it's useful. You can toggle and see which of these is your source. These are just the names that I've entered for my reference, and then this gives me the source name. So 4565 is this guy. Take 2 is the one that we used. Then we will drag that down, create a new comp. I love how many ways there are to create comps in After Effects, by the way. It's really nice. Okay, I'm just going to scrub through. Notice that I shot the red guy first because the blue guy is the one who has to interact with the cup after it has been sabotaged. So, the little interaction, the little reaching motion here at the beginning, it'll freeze there. Notice that the cup is already full of gross stuff, so it doesn't have to. The clear glass of water was never present for me to reach for. It was planted here. Just a little bit of the, I guess the details of shooting. That's how you're going to have to approach it if you decide to do this exact effect, which is kind of lame, so you probably shouldn't. Rambling. Okay, so find the key parts of my shot. Namely, I'm sitting down, Just done a little rubbing the hands together. So we're going to start from this position because it's, I don't know, like I'm a very religious person praying, I don't know. Okay, handy little keyboard shortcut, Command-Shift-D. Sorry, I'm not using a fancy screen capture program that'll show you the keys I'm hitting, but yeah, on a Mac it's Command-Shift-D. With a layer selected, we'll split the layer into two. So now I've got this little piece over here. This is just kind of a rudimentary way to edit. Okay, and he takes off. And we'll just go ahead and cut that for now. Go to the beginning here, and let's find water. What point does he enter? About 30 seconds here. Pull it back just a little bit. Fun part is just matching up the clips. Okay, he's going to enter about there, so we want him to enter shortly after the freezing. There are better ways to do this. I would probably be well advised to put this into Premiere, but I'm not doing that right now. This is just an After Effects tutorial. Okay, reach. Okay, I'm going to take my layer here. Find frame. Zoom in on this a little bit. Let's go right there. Sure, why not? Okay. I'm going to split the layer again and advance one frame. Split it once more. Why am I doing this? Because I'm going to take this little guy right here and apply, oh, spinning wheel, fun. Oh, my computer's kind of old. I forgive it. It's been good for me. Oh, we had it. Okay, time. Going to freeze frame. If you click on that, then this layer gets this little square keyframe down here, which is handy. I'm going to just drag this across. So now I have this handy little frozen bit, and it's just the one frame. I'm using the plus key here just to zoom in on my timeline. Move back, and as you can see, we're not advancing anymore. Hunky dory. So now I'm actually going to hit T to bring up the opacity of this layer. I'm going to set this at like 50. This is mostly just so I can see where the red guy is positioned. Do the same here. So I can adjust the timing. In the version that's online, I have a little bit of their motion overlapping, so that while the blue guy is reaching, it's like this. The blue guy is moving, the red guy is already moving behind him, so I'd have to mask out the shoulder and rotoscope that in motion, and I don't want to bother with that right now. I'm already taking up a lot of time here. Basic rotoscope tutorials are probably out there. I don't really want to get into that right now. So I'm going to shuffle this through time. I'm just grabbing my bottom layer with the red man. I'm going to go to the freeze frame here. Okay. So I want to get to a point where the red person is not overlapping yet. Okay, he'll enter frame just after this. So freeze, and then he'll start to come in. That makes this a whole lot easier. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and bring my opacity back up. And on my freeze frame, it is time for a little bit of masking, which is wonderful. Using the pen tool, you can use the hotkey G or just select it up here. We have our pen. I'm going to use Command plus to zoom in here, and the spacebar or the H key. Oh, H key is not doing it. Never mind, maybe that's just Photoshop, I'm confused. But the spacebar brings up your hand tool and you can click and drag. This is way too basic for you, I apologize. I assume that most of the people who are looking to my video for help are fairly basic beginners. That may not be the case. Okay, I can be very detailed, I can be very sloppy with my mask. I will find a middle ground. I'm toggling with G for no reason, but that just takes you between the regular pen tool and the pen feather tool, which is nice, but I don't really care about it right now. Okay, so click and drag a little bit so you get a little Bezier curve on there. I'm not too worried about getting it super detailed with the hair, but it's always nice to get a little detail in there. This is the main event here. The hair is just, I had a bad hair day that day. I don't know what was going on. I think I was wearing headphones at work or something, and it just made these cavernous depressions like tire treads across my head or something. Anyway, this is definitely not the greatest mask I have ever created, but as is the case in a lot of tutorials, ain't nobody got time for that masking. So I'm gonna just kind of get really, I don't know why my eyes were closed. Oh, okay, this is a useful bit. I've reached the blurry hand with the blurry fingers, and I'm just going to kind of proceed with caution here. Just get a rough outline. I'm actually going to take the mask down into the finger a little bit, hopefully get a little bit of detail. This is a different frame than I used in the video that's online, so you actually have a little bit more space between digits here. Holding down Option and hovering over one of these mask points, that allows you to get handles when you didn't have them before. Okay, continuing on with our rather rough version of this mask. I just don't care at this point. Yeah. Man, my computer's slow. But I'm going to go ahead and take this mask and carry it around the table, because I've got reflection and shadow of my shirt and my body on the table that are here that I want to preserve because they are not present in the other shot. So if I were to leave them there, it would become apparent when you're watching the video that the shadow changed, and that is bad news. Okay, now I'm bringing my mask outside the frame. I'll bring it back in here at the chair. Zoom out a little bit. And I've said this before, this is a terrible mask. It really doesn't do justice to the art of masking. Okay, almost there. And we'll complete our mask. So now if we turn off our bottom layer, or we use this box here, the dot, to solo our layer, you can now see what it looks like. The mask defaults to the, let's bring down our mask properties here, add, which means that whatever is inside of the mask is added, it's present, you can see it. We could switch this to subtract, so that the mask would be removing everything that it is surrounding, but we want it to add. And we'll bring down these mask properties further. We want to feather this. You always want to feather masks, even if it's just a pixel or two. It's just generally a good practice. Things look too sharp if you don't. So we've feathered our mask, 3 pixels, and we'll do the expansion, -2. It's kind of arbitrary, but it just kind of brings the whole thing in a little bit. That's especially useful here at the fingers. It'll kind of give you some space for the subject that is behind to move across the frame back here. So now we will unsolo that layer and click away from this layer, and that will hide the mask. Now I'll click over a few frames here. Now the red me should be present, and look, he is behind the first me. And this is actually not looking too bad for just a quick mask. And you can... I've failed to do a very fundamental, important practice in After Effects, which is to name my layers. So I select a layer here. I'm going to hit Return or Enter. It'll highlight the text box. I'm going to call this Frozen Blue, because why not? This will be blue before, and then this layer on the top that has the content later on, I will call blue after, and the bottom one I will just call red. So the mask only is applying to this layer of blue before. As you can see here, the red guy is starting to pass behind. He will come over and do his dastardly deeds. Okay, because I spent so much time acting and doing terrible things to myself, I have to drag this clip, which is the after freezing stuff, over here. Still mixing. And it looks like by this point he's gone. I'm going to backtrack. Okay, by 1:30. Oh, is he still there? Where's the computer is so slow. Okay, he's gone. So I'm just going to drag this guy back to roughly meet up here. And if you click inside the layer, it means you drag it back and forth through space, or through time rather. Undo that. But if you get on the edge, you have this double-sided arrow. You can click, drag, extend, and zoom in on that a little bit. And I'll just drag this over so the two meet up at this frame. So you go continuously from this frame to the next one in the video, and the reaching motion is completed. So there will be a little bit of a seam right here. Do advanced frames with this button up here because I don't have the full-size keyboard. I'm working on a laptop here. But watch the glass here very carefully as I advance frames. Did you see that? You see how it kind of settled? That is one of the problems of working with working through time, is that the glass was one way when the red guy left frame, and that's where this glass is coming from the red frame. I'll solo it, but then in the next layer, or the next frame, this top layer comes into being. So if we unsolo this bottom layer. So if we were to turn this off and back on, you can see that the glass is changing. In the original video online, I tried to hide this with a bit of a dissolve, and that sort of worked. It wasn't the best solution, but it's one of those tricks that you really have to plan ahead for. Okay, so what we have here, we'll go ahead and set B for an in point and for an out point, and I will just go ahead and render out this little bit. Oh, you know what? The visibility is turned off up here. Just a second. I want to be able to see my top layer, so let us redo that render. So he's frozen, and now he's not. And you can definitely see those mask lines popping back out. Boom. So when you're masking, you do want to be a lot more exact and precise than I was just now, because it becomes very apparent when a mask is no longer there. Okay. So I guess a final step here, if we're wanting to contain this within a certain time, I'm going to zoom out on the timeline here. Hang on a moment. So blue before, we've got this little clip. This is just all the video that we have before he freezes. I'm going to extend this back out a few frames to include this idiotic pre-drink ritual, whatever that was. Oh, notice, I did not point out. At the beginning, you see that he's looking at the egg, which he's not supposed to be right now. So what I'm going to do, because I'm lazy, and because it works, I'm just going to, I've got that layer selected, I'm just going to create a little subtractive mask. I'll go to these mask properties. Okay, it's going to be an add, so right now this is the only remaining piece of that layer. But I'm going to switch that out to subtract, so it's cutting a hole in it. And look at what you see. Now I just want to make sure that the layer mask doesn't match up with his fingers in any of these frames leading up to the freeze frame. And no, looks like we're good. His fingers do not get cut off. Okay, so that was a simple solution. But now, I just noticed we've got our condiments jumping across the table. Because these are in time after the red guy did his dastardly deeds. So, maybe I'll just extend the mask like a lazy butt. Yeah. If I click in here, you can see the little plus sign on the pen tool. I'll click and I'll just add a vertex. And I will do the same down here. Just drag that out a little bit. So if we solo this layer, you now see that it is a picture of the guy with a hole cut out, and visible beneath that is going to be the red layer. And the red layer starts with a clean glass and an undisturbed set of condiments. And just out of principle, I'm going to give that mask a little bit of a feather, just in case something becomes visible. And you can actually see a little bit of color difference through here if you look closely. And color matching isn't something I really feel like doing right now. Plus I've been taking way longer to do this tutorial than I thought I would. So we'll go back to the beginning of this clip. We'll set a little in point here. Zoom out. And scroll up here. Oh, handy little trick. Command A, select all your layers, and U will reveal all keyframes or collapse the layers. So you can toggle between, it'll showing all of your keyframed properties and just collapsing them nice and tidy. So if you want to be able to see all of your layers stacked, this is how you do it. I'm going to pull my playhead out here to the end of the video, gets up and runs away, and I'll hit N to set an out point here. Now if you right click here just above the work area, you can trim your comp to work area, so you don't have to have all this extra space out here. So trim comp, and that'll make it nice and neat and even. Zoom out a little bit, so it starts where you set your endpoint and goes to the end. And now we can render this out, and we have a rough version of the time freeze video, and I hope that is of some use. My apologies, I don't believe I have ever made a tutorial before, so first time for everything. Enjoy.